during this lecture, I would recommend some helpful tools for tracking down outside sources, because I do know that the MCPHS University Library, although staffed with some amazing librarians and researchers, comes slightly short on databases and journals pertaining to the humanities and specifically religion. So, my first recommendation is to try JSTOR. That's JSTOR. You can find it as jstor.com or jstor.org. That is a journal storage site that you can select humanities and religion databases from. Now, it may either link you to full texts that you can certainly use, or it'll give you the information on where certain articles and books appear. They can be requested through interlibrary loan through MCPHS University, or you might have to go to another library to track them down, and that leads me to my second recommendation, the Boston Public Library, which can be found online at bpl.org. They have an excellent database, and as a student in Boston, you are able to get your own library card and access to the BPL, so you can use them either for tracking down the articles and books that JSTOR already gave you, or for using their own databases on which to do research. If you're looking for particular keywords, in addition to divinity and creation and religion, I would definitely look into the American Academy of Religion. They put out a number of publications, particularly their journal, JAAR, the Journal of the American Academy of Religions. If you're looking for more online resources that are still somewhat reputable and reliable, I would recommend checking out Patheos.com. That's Patheos.com, as well as BeliefNet.com. One warning I may offer is that don't immediately trust all sites that end with a .edu or a .org. I've had a number of freshman composition students make that mistake. Well, professor, it comes from a university. Yeah, you know, it comes from the janitor's account at the university, and maybe that's a very smart janitor. Don't get me going about sanitation workers. They can be brilliant. But even so, just the URL does not qualify something as being reliable and credible. And don't discount YouTube. There are a number of universities that post videos to YouTube. So you may want to search for materials, for support materials in terms of usernames like Open University Online or Princeton University Online. Even MITx has some videos on YouTube that you can cite and you can include in your paper as a legitimate source. So there are some starting points for you, and certainly if you'd like to put questions in our open question and answer discussion board, I'd be happy to address them there. But hopefully that'll give you some leads once you've selected the actual piece of adaptation about which you plan to write. Now, on to this week's subject, and then I'm just going to touch on briefly creation. Creation myths, creation stories, creation lore. I'm just getting a view of my hair, and it looks not so good today. Sorry. Here's one thing we have to keep in mind, particularly if we're coming from a Western Judeo-Christian Islamic perspective and we're reading about these other creation myths. For many religions, there's a multitude of creation myths that you don't necessarily have to subscribe to one and only one in that religion. Some of the readings we'll do today are on Hinduism, and we'll look at their Rig Veda that has already 2 creation myths in just the excerpt that I gave to you. We'll also create a sensitivity to this as we go into the next week, because if you look very carefully at the Hebrew Bible, at the Torah, at the book of Genesis in the Old Testament, you are confronted by 2 creation myths. that we usually blend into one, that we usually fuse together. But if you look at Book 1, Chapter 1 of Genesis, and then immediately compare it to Chapter 2, you'll see that they're telling slightly different stories about the sequence of events in the Garden of Eden and in creation. So that would be my main point for this lecture today. Do not be surprised, and rather be quite open to a multitude of creation stories and myths and scripture, even from within the same religion. We will, of course, compare, let's say, the creation myth of Hinduism to the creation myth of Islam, and those feel comfortable to compartmentalize, maybe, but there may be multiples within one religion. This sort of frustrates our traditional notion of having one beginning and one end. Rather, we have a multitude of beginnings and then a multitude of ends. Did I just switch sides? Beginnings, ends, beginnings, ends. Okay, I think I got it right. At any rate, good luck with this week's readings. I hope the quiz went well for you, and I hope you are generating ideas for your papers. Please remember, you have to get it approved by me no later than Friday, September 27th. You need to send me an email requesting what piece of art you plan on writing about. About which? What piece of art you plan on writing. The grammar works something like that. Have a good week, everybody. Continue the successful class we've been having so far, and I'll talk to you soon.